Chevre, how are you? I hope everyone is gesund, stark, und freilich, begashmis und beruchnis. I hope everyone is healthy, strong, and happy physically and spiritually. Today is a monumental day, an epic day. Today is Yud Alef Nissan, the Yom Haledes of the Rebbe. The Rebbe is turning 122 years old. Tzaddikim, as we know, celebrate birthdays as the stories of the Baal Shem Tov and other tzaddikim. After their stalkus, they were celebrating birthdays, and other tzaddikim have told us about these celebrations. So it's a day where we have to connect with the tzaddik. And the Rebbe spoke many times the concept of gufa, bosa, reisha, ozel. The body follows the head. So if the head's mazel, on a birthday, someone's mazoli goyve, the Rebbe said many times, his mazel is strengthened and intense. So that means that the entire generation, today is a Rosh Hashanah of Mazel Tov, a Rosh Hashanah of Mazel Tov. There's a major infusion of Mazel Tov for the entire world. So everyone should tap into it, and we should see it with our physical eyes. Before we continue, we'll start with tzedakah as usual. Actually, right now, as you speak, there are reports that Israel is making strikes in the behemshich to what there was this week. Unbelievable miracles. We'll get to that soon. So we're giving tzedakah that everything should be successful. The war should end now. All the houses should return peacefully, and Geula Mitzvah Shlema now. Amen. We'll start with the pasuk, which is the new kapitel, which is the focus of one of the focuses of what we're going to speak about today. It's Erev Shabbos Kodesh Pashas Metzora, and the Rebbe's new kapitel is Kuf Chav Gimel, and the first pasuk is Shira Mailois Eilecho Nasosi Eseinai Hayeshvi Bashamoyim. To you I have lifted my eyes. You are enthroned in heaven. So one interpretation of this pasuk is, let's get spiritual. Eilecho Nasosi Eseinai. Whenever there's a situation that's going into the world, where am I turning? What am I looking at? Which angle? Which dimension? What's the focus? Spirituality. You. Hayeshi Bashamoyim. We're looking spiritually, heavenly. Now, of course, this doesn't mean the idea that that the focus is on Olam Haba. No. The focus is on spirituality and infusing the physical in a way of engagement, that the physical should be permeated with the spiritual. But what that means is that the truth is, my friends, that in Yiddishkeit nothing has really changed from the beginning. The purpose and the mission of the Jewish nation, of Ata v'chatona mikol ha'amim, and of Matan Torah has always been oisim nafsham iker v'gufam tveila. We should realize in every single situation to look for the spiritual, and then to live our lives in such a way in the physical. That's the whole word. Hakoil koil Yaakov, vayadayim midei Esav. The power, the weapon of a Yid is davening and learning. And when we daven and learn, then our good tanks do what they're meant to do, and then our fighter jets do what they're meant to do. So that's what the pasuk is telling us always. Remember, look at the spiritual aspect. Make the spiritual side strong. As verbunden Eiben, fällt man schon abunten. And this has to be drilled into our heads again and again and again, because when you're living in a physical world, sometimes the physical reality doesn't always reflect that truth. And that's really what the job is. Not to be fooled by the facade, not to be blinded by the veil, but to seek what's beneath the surface. Bara Elikim, Bereshis Bara Elikim is explained like this, to reveal. Barak means Moshe Hivri, to bring out what's behind Shem Elikim, which is Shem Havaya. Okay, so that's the pasuk, and that's the focus of this, the new kapitel, and that's something you have to have in mind. And we'll see that always from the Rebbe again and again, and especially connected to our situation right now in Eretz Yisrael. But first, let's talk about it on an interpersonal level. On a Torah of the Baal Shem Tov connected to Parashat Shavua, Meidika Torah. The Parsha starts off, and this is going to be connected to Pesach. Also, this is going to be my message today for Pesach, in Mitzvah Hashem. I doubt there's going to be time next week, Monday, to make a video. Parshas Metzora starts, Zois Tia Toiras HaMetzora. This is the laws connected to the Metzora. In Kesser Shem Tov, if I remember correctly, it's Ois Shin Nun Dalid. I made a mistake, maybe Shin Samach Dalid. The Baal Shem Tov says, Amoyre Dik Pshat, which is connected to, most people know it, connected to other words, connected to a Mishnah. But the Baal Shem Tov said like this, Zois Tia Toiras HaMetzora. How could you be Metzora? How could you get rid of the evil that's in someone else? B'yoim Tarasoi, when you will make yourself pure. And the Baal Shem Tov types like this. The famous word that's quoted in the Baal Shem Tov, connected to other words of the Torah, Kol Lanagoyim Odam Roya Chutz Mishel Atzmoi. The Hasidic Pshat is, the Pasha Pshat is talking about that a Kohen is allowed to look at every single situation where there's a skin condition called Saras, except his own. The Baal Shem Tov said, Kol Lanagoyim Odam Roya Chutz. Every flaw that you see in another person, Chutz in others, Mishel Atzmoi, it comes from yourself. Which goes together with the famous word of the Baal Shem Tov, as I mentioned, Spiegel. When you see a flaw in another person, you have to realize that he's a mirror. Why is the Eibush to work in such a way? In other words, if you're clean and you looked in the mirror and you see your face clean, that's because your face is clean. The mirror just mirrors what is in front of the mirror. So if you see another person and you see only good, that's because you only have good. If you see a flaw in somebody else, that's because it's really a reflection of your own flaws, of your own deficiencies, of your own shortcomings. The Rebbe explains this at length in Likutei Sichos Chelik Yud, Parshas Noach. We spoke about it many times, so I'm not going to get into the whole the debate back and forth. But Tachlis. So Tachlis is, why does we should do it in such a way? Because there's something called bias, there's something called self-love, there's something called agenda. So since a person is blind to his own flaws, so what does Hashem do? Hashem sees that you're not going to be able to ever see this flaw in yourself. He set up a system. He set up a system that he made it that you should notice someone else's flaw, and you should realize that's really, it's a message. It's a message from Hashem that it's really your flaw, which is reflected in that other person. It's a message for you to check your own baggage and to clean it up, check your own house, etc. By the way, today you don't listen, so we'll use it as an opportunity immediately to say L'chaim. Mizok L'chaim, on a special day, L'chaim, L'chaim, the Schutz from the Rebbe should bring salvation and brachas and mazel tov to Gans Kal Yisrael, to every single Jew without exception, b'toiv v'nirav v'nigla, in all areas of his life, including Mashiach now, L'chaim, L'chaim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehakol niyah b'dvoroi. L'chaim. So therefore the Baal Shem Tov now learn Pshat. Zois tia toiras hametzora. If you want to take out the ra, which is in someone else, and how does that work? That the Eibush to make sure that you should see the other person's ra, and therefore you should see it as a sign. Kol Yisrael guf echad, all the Jews are one body. Because of Achdus, it's really a sign of how you have to work on your own character development. You have to work on something in you. As they say, the biggest room is the room for improvement. You have to work on yourself. B'yoyim ta'arasai, when you will fix it up in yourself, so then that will also fix it up in the other person. That's what the Baal Shem Tov said. Obviously, it's connected with the word that Metzora, the Pashto Pshat al pi nigla, means he was Metzora. The reason why he got Tzaras is because he saw the evil in someone else. Over here, the Baal Shem Tov was only Pshat Metzora, to get rid of the evil in a positive way, in a good way. Okay, so what do we see from this again? We see the idea of Chassidus, as always, number one, it's about humility. It's not about looking bad at someone else ever. It's not about being negative. It's about looking deep inside yourself to make sure that you are the way it's meant to be. And that's the idea of Pnimius always. Be focused, be an inward directed person. Make sure you're doing okay. And of course, take care of the other person too. But not that you're looking down at him or you're critical or you're judgmental. Chas v'sholom. And this is connected with another Torah of the Rebbe, which will make it very, very quick, because I'm sure we spoke about many of these things already before. One of the most famous Torahs of the Rebbe is connected to Parshas Riyah. The halacha is, but you could say it in Parshas Metzora, that if you have a kohen who is an ignoramus, and someone has tzaras and he doesn't know if he has tzaras, he has a condition on his skin, so he goes to the kohen, but the kohen, let's say it's in a case where he's an amoritz, he doesn't know what it is. He says, go to the rabbi, go to the Rav, ask the Rav, what is this? Then the Rav looks at it and the Rav says that it is tzaras. And then he has to go to the kohen, and the kohen is informed that the Rav said that it's tzaras. So then the kohen says, you know what, if the Rav said that it's tzaras, then you're a Metzora. So the Rebbe asks a klotz kasha, Mamish and Avi's question, why does it have to be in such a roundabout way? Go to the Rav is a Talmud Chacham, the Rav should say this is tzaras, and therefore you now are deemed a Metzora. Why do we have to first find out from the Rav that it's tzaras, then we go to the kohen, and the kohen has to say, you are a Metzora, you are Tomei. And the Rebbe gives an astounding, astonishing pshat, which is in a way a game changer of how careful you have to be when it comes to being judgmental or seeing a flaw in someone else. And the Rebbe says, and this is brought down in some other areas in Chassidus, when it comes to seeing a flaw, when it comes to seeing a chesron, we have to be super careful to make sure that it's coming from the right place. If not, then really what's going on is that it could be just an outlet where I'm venting some negative aspect of myself. Midas mishchosses. A person can have rotten character traits, like some holier-than-thou, right-wing fundamentalist preacher who gets off and gets high on giving sermons full of fire and brimstone. The Rebbe would speak against rabbis giving sermons in the days of Elul, where they're denigrating their congregants and talking negatively. And it really goes back to the days of Baal Shem Tov. There's very many stories where there were these preachers, these magidim, and they would get up there and they would speak very negatively about everyone to bring them so-called to do tshuva. And the Baal Shem Tov got up and said, what do you want from the people? They're good people. We're going to go outside and dance. So similarly over here, never, never, never be judgmental about another Yid. Never be judgmental. And in general, be humble. But sometimes you need to take care of something. There's a condition that has to be taken care of. You have to go to a doctor. You have a condition. You have a skin situation which needs special care. You need a specialist, a dermatologist. So the answer is the only real dermatologist that knows exactly what he's saying and we know for sure he's going to bring benefit is if he's permeated with love. Koyanim have mitamid dav shel arein oyev shalom v'reidav shalom eves abriyeis u'makarvon latera. As we say in Bechas Koyanim, levarech es Am Yisrael bi'avo. So only a kohen who's completely permeated with love. So we know that it's not coming from any negative traits. It's coming out of care, out of concern, out of compassion, out of empathy. And such a person who's full of empathy, he says, what can you do? You have a condition. And we know it's coming from love, and therefore only good will come out of it, and therefore only a kohen is allowed to deem another Yid Tomei, Tzaras. Even a Talmud Chacham can't do that. It has to be dafka, someone that's only permeated with love. So this is straight away a message to all of us and a resolution for Yid Alef Nissan. The Rebbe, who was always filled with love and always projected love and only love, is the first thing we have to think of when we think about the Rebbe, is this idea of attaching ourselves in a way of love to every single other person. And this is also connected to Pesach. We said this word already before. The Rebbe has a meridic word of why the Seder starts off, Kol dichvin yesev yechol, Kol ditzach yesev yivsach. All who are hungry, let them come and eat. All who are needy, let them come and conduct the Seder Pesach here. The Rebbe asks a question, why of all things do we start the Seder with that? Is that like the most important thing? Seder in Torah is also Torah. The order in Torah, in Judaism, is also precise. Why does it start with that? And the Rebbe says, because what's Pesach? Pesach is Manchir Seinu. It's the festival of liberty, the festival of freedom. And we spoke about this once before. What's the measure of a free man? If you could embrace everyone without exception. When we say over here, Kol dichvin yesev yechol, all who are hungry, let them come and eat, which means you have an open door policy. Open door policy means whether he's a lefty, whether he's a righty, whether he's progressive left, or he's make America great, whether he's Mishikist, whether he's anti-Mishikist, whether he's Brexit, Schmexit, judicial reform, not judicial reform, was mir seinen mir, aber jeden seinen mir. Whatever we are, but we're Yidden. Echad Chacham, Echad Rosha, Echad Sheni Elishel, Echad Tom, as the Friedrich Rebbe said, that Echad, Hashem Echad, finds itself equal in every single one. So the introduction, the premise, the all-encompassing idea, which is a sign that we're going into the holiday properly, that you have an idea what it's on about, you didn't lose the plot, is take this test. Do you have an open door policy where you'll actually be comfortable and pasmakev in sich and enjoying basking in the presence of another Yid? Take him around, give him a hug, sing a song to Hashem. And that's why the Seder has to start with that. Because this is the first question you have to ask yourself seriously. Ask yourself this question. Are you ready to embrace another person regardless of his policies? Yes or no? It's a yes or no question. Are you ready to embrace him and sit the ganze Nacht, Leila Seder, with a smile on your face? Are you ready to do that? And this is what it means. Say that honestly by the Seder tonight, this year, Tavshim Pei Dalet Pesach. Say it honestly. The house is open for every single person. And now, just to finish off with a couple of stories, I want to say again what I believe right now. First of all, before you say the story, is there was tremendous miracles that happened this week, in the week of Alef Nissan. I don't want to elaborate on it. I'm sure you've thought about it. I'm sure you know about it. We've lived through a historic event of a Gilui Elokus She'en Kamoyu. And that's also part of the connection to Pesach and connection to Chodesh Nissan. Nissan means miracles. And this is also how we started today's shir. Think spiritual, think Shemaimdik. Just like the Rebbe, if someone was having a difficulty in his heart, and the Rebbe would say, check him mezuzah, and there was something wrong with B'chol Levavcha, it's the same thing. And if there was a Geneva in the house, checking mezuzah, there was something wrong. In other words, don't lose sight of what's primary. What's primary is that the Eibishter is guarding us, and the Eibishter is performing miracles. And we have to give a Shavah V'Dol HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And it's also connected to the Rebbe's Yom Haledes. I want to read you something which is printed in Sefer HaSichos Tofrei Tzadik Tes. In a Seder Sheni Shel Chag HaPesach, the Friedrich Rebbe writes in a Sicha as follows. In the newest edition, it's page 367. It's Ois Ches Seder HaSheni Shel Chag HaPesach, Tofrei Tzadik Tes. It says as follows. Bishnas Tov Reish Samach Beis in 1902 Hoyeg Zeilis Rois Rachmon Litzlan on Klal Yisrael. There were terrible decrees on Klal Yisrael. Bekoidim Chag Pesach and his battle b'derech Nes. Before Pesach, they became nullified through a miraculous way. And then my father, the Rebbe Rashab, this is the Rebbe speaking. And then my father, that year, 1902, said during the Agada, it says that when the Jews will go out of Egypt, they will go out with great wealth and enormous fortune. And the Rebbe Rashab said, what does it mean? That a chush is that it's galus from Godel Avaya. The wealth is the fortune of Godel Avaya, the greatness of the essence of Hashem. Godel Avaya means Hashem Avaya, which is the higher name which shows on infinity. And right that year, Tofresh Tamar Beis, the Rebbe was born, Kodim Chag Pesach. We know this from Moshe Rabbeinu, that when Moshe was born, the house was filled with light, and we know there's many tzaddikim stories of how the Yom who led this was connected to miracles. We see this factually. When the Rebbe was born, it was connected to a great miracle. This week, in connection to the date, connected with the Rebbe's Yom led this, there was an amazing ness in the schus of the Rebbe's mazel. The Eibishter performed great miracles, similar to what it says in Tanya, that Shitefim Midas Arachmim, Hashem created the world with the virtue of mercy. And it says over there, what does that mean? His galus alakus al yedei tzadikim v'oiseisim moisim shebetayra. The revelation of godliness through the existence of tzadikim and the miracles they perform in the Torah. So, Amen, Hashem should help. There should be more and more miracles. I once heard from a Hasidic Jew, the more we thank Hashem, the more Hashem gives us opportunities for us to thank Him. I want to finish with the story of an open heart and generosity, which I don't know if I ever said this story before. There was a woman, her name was Esther Mentz. This is a story that's in the mid-50s. She got married, and she wrote a letter to the Rebbe when she was just a young couple, that she doesn't have finances to be able to make Pesach. So she wrote a letter and she told the Rebbe she doesn't have finances to make Pesach. Rabbi Charikov came back to her, and Rabbi Charikov told her, buy whatever you need, whatever the cost. Just go down Kingston Avenue, or wherever it was then, into the hardware store and just buy whatever you need. So she says, I bought the minimalist because I was thinking to myself, it's definitely it's money that's coming out of some fund for charity, and how could I, in good consciousness, buy anything, spend one more penny than what was absolutely necessary and essential for the necessities? So I wrote to the Rebbe afterwards what I had spent it on and how much I spent and what it cost. And I actually bought just like 2 or 3 pairs, forks and spoons just for me and my husband. And I bought, it was very cheap dishes, she called it glass dishes. Anyways, after I gave him the Rebbe an accounting of what I did, and I got a message from Rabbi Charikov. The Rebbe wants to know, where are your dishes for Pesach? So she says, I wrote to the Rebbe that I bought these glass dishes. And then Rabbi Charikov said, but the Rebbe wants to know, where are your dishes for Pesach? In other words, the Rebbe didn't want her to be using like some, let's call it like disposable, cheap cutlery. The Rebbe wanted to have a proper set of dishes for Pesach. She called it a stainless steel set with proper utensils and proper dishes. Anyway, she goes back to the hardware store and she got what the Rebbe told her to get. It was like, yes, sir. She was ordered by the Rebbe to do that. Anyways, and thereafter, year after year, she used to get a $50 check before Pesach. Anyways, there came a time, she says, where I felt I didn't need it anymore. I didn't want to take any more money from charity. So I wanted to return the check. So she returned the check, and she wrote that she's returning the check. She doesn't need it. She got a message from Rabbi Charikov that it's not only for food, because it could be she wrote that she has enough money to buy food. I'm not sure, but the Rebbe answered, it's not only for food, it's for Pesach. For Pesach means you can find a way how to use it for Pesach. There's so many big expenses, clothes, whatever it is, and on and on. So she had no choice. She used it. And then the next year, the check was increased double. It went from $50 to $100. So she finishes off when she says the story in the video. I better try not to stop this. You try to stop it, and it will make sure to increase the amount for you to spend. Wow, 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 wow. This is an amazing story and an amazing lesson in how to take care of someone else. Do things in a breiter way. Don't be verquetscht. You're taking care of the other person. Make him feel like $1 million. Make him feel like on top of the world without a problem. By the Rebbe, we always see it's always about giving, it's always about being generous, and it's always about doing it with a smile, top class level, and making that person feel good and not guilty that he's taking from charity. On the contrary, take. Have a good time. This is what the Eibishter wants. Enjoy it. And this is the lesson we have to take for Pesach. This is what I think has to be the message on two levels. Number one, every single one of us, no matter how much no matter how much your Avos Yisrael is, there's always areas where it comes to a test, where it comes difficult. Just open up your hearts. Open up your wallets. Open up your spirit to be able to embrace and encompass another person. Open house policy. And this will bring brachas and brachas and more brachas. And the second thing is always about focusing on the spiritual. There was a younger man over here in Melbourne who told the Rebbe, he was by the Machne Yisrael right before Pesach, and he told the Rebbe that the financial, I forgot the exact lashon, said Zustand, the financial circumstances in Melbourne was very bad at the time. And the Rebbe answered him, there's going to be miracles. In other words, Mashiach's coming. And the Rebbe said, so imagine you have these millionaires, the Machne Yisrael Development Fund, and they're very business-minded, and they're all about the bottom line, the dollar. And they come to the Rebbe and they're asking a bracha, and the Rebbe doesn't say the bracha, you should make billions. The Rebbe says, you should prepare yourselves, primarily, fundamentally, supremely, spiritually. And of course it means it's going to work out to the physical also. But that's the message, and that's the message now also. We have to connect in a very strong way, as verbunden, the Rebbe should help that the mazel of the Rebbe should be seen by all of us, and which should be the Gula Metzora Shleimo take from Had Mamish, my friends, Akor Shurim Freilich in Pesach, and we should see each other Bekorim Mamish in Yerushalayim, Ir HaKodesh, Bebeis HaMikdash HaShlishi. Posting from my home, Be'ez Hashem Yisbarich, your man in Melbourne.